How to invest money as a newbie in stock market. I have bought my first stocks. How have I found out what stocks to invest in? Hi, great to have you here. My name is Edda, and making investments is part of my experiment to retire rich in 10 years. In the description below and at the end of this video, you find the links to an introduction to this channel, respectively my experiment, and to my first video about selling stock photos. This video is about my first investments. After announcing a disclaimer and some notes we should keep in mind, I will talk about finance plan, investment strategies, preferences, my own strategies, how to find a ETF, and deposit accounts. So let's get serious and start with a very serious disclaimer. I'm a newbie and I don't give any advice to invest, how to invest, or when to invest. I just share what I have found out and in what I have invested. It will take some years or even decades until we find out if it will make profit or loss. Here come some notes we should always keep in mind when investing. First note, no risk, no fun, aka profit. In general, we can say the higher the possible profit is, the higher the risk is. Because nowadays the interest rates are so low, it is almost impossible to make investments with no risk that make some return at all. I haven't found any safe investments that keep pace with at least the inflation rate. All investments I'm talking about are more or less risky. Sovereign bonds are said to be safe investments. I have to admit I don't know anything about sovereign bonds so far, so I'm not going to talk about them in this video. There were some low interest investments in the past, but when I tried to make such an investment, my bank told me they don't provide it anymore. In German it is Tagesgeldkonto. I could not find out what it is in English. But it is very close to a current account, except it pays you some interests. I would like you to give you an idea how I qualify risk. When I say low risk, I take into account to lose some of my invested money. If I say high risk, I take into account to lose all of my invested money. And when I talk about insane high risk, I take into account to lose more, even unlimited, than the invested money. The next thing to keep in mind is repay all debts first. Fortunately, I don't have any debts at all, so I don't need to repay anything. The reason for this is it is very hard to predict how much return your investments are going in the next period of time. So it is always better to pay back your debts first, because the interest you have to pay for your debts might be more than you could make with your investments. And finally, invest only money you don't need within, let's say, the next 20 years. For if you come into the situation that you are forced to sell your stocks, you can be sure it is always in the worst moment and you will always get the worst price for them. If you want to invest money, the first thing you need is a finance plan. Find out what your income is. As an employee, that is usually pretty easy. You know when to expect your paychecks. I'm self-employed and I should have figured out my income during the last years to be able to make some assumptions for the future. but I have to admit, at least in Germany, it is very complicated and I still struggle, and I will do it somewhen. After you have a precise idea about your income, you should find out about your necessities like rent, energy, food, mobility, and so on. Even I have been able to do that. Knowing your income and your necessities, you can figure out a savings rate. First, you should build up an egg nest according to general advice about 6 to 9 months of necessities. So if you become employless, sick, or whatever, you have your egg nest to live on. When you have built up your egg nest, you can begin to build up your investment budget. As a result of the finance plan, you should know about when to invest and how much to invest. As the second step, we have to develop an investment strategy. Stick to your strategy. Usually it is a bad idea to change strategy. What is an active strategy? The target of an active strategy is to outperform the market or the index and make excess profit. The market or index could be the Dow Jones or the DAX. To outperform the market, you pick stocks which will increase more in value than the average market. And you will buy them when they are undervalued and sell them when they're overestimated. The advantages of the active strategy is the possibility to outperform the market, obviously. It is possible to make fast profits, and you have a learn effect because you need detailed knowledge about the companies in question. The disadvantages are it is very time consuming and it is more difficult to implement risk diversification. Passive strategy means you build up a portfolio according to an index. The easiest way to do so is to buy ETFs, exchange traded funds. It is possible to integrate it in a periodical savings plan. This strategy is independent of financial projections, reports, opinions, and current rates, and so on. The advantages of the passive strategy are it is time saving. There is, let's say, an inbuilt risk diversification. The fees are usually low. And as mentioned before, it can be integrated in a periodical savings plan. The disadvantages are it is not possible to outperform the market. There is no learn effect, and there isn't any fast profit possible. Talking about investment strategies, I would like to mention the time horizon of investments. There are short-term investments like day trading. There's a lot of rumor becoming rich with day trading. Please keep in mind, day trading is a profession and it is a full-time job. For a private person like you and me, I don't expect a day trader to watch my videos. Day trading is like gambling. Long-term investments are investments made for more than 10 years. And then there are middle-term investments, which are something between day trading and long-term investments. Because of Corona, right now I'm without any income at all. Fortunately, I have some savings. Nobody knows when I will find a new project. Under these circumstances, it is very difficult to say how long I have to live on my savings and how much will be left to invest. However, I want to make some investments now because it is very likely in long term stocks of profound companies are going to increase. The third step I have called preferences. In fact, it is one more point I think it's a good idea to think about before making investments, and that is the use of profit. Not how you use the profit you will make, but the use of profit by the companies or by the ETFs. They can distribute their profits and pay dividends to their stockholders, or they can accumulate their profit and reinvest it in their business. In this context, sometimes the terms value and growth are mentioned. Value stocks are stocks of profound established companies who do not need to reinvest their profits into their business, but can provide it to their stockholders. Growth stocks are stocks of companies who reinvest their profits into their business, and so they pay no or only low dividends. For the main part of my investments, I will use a passive strategy with a little bit of activity. I will invest in ETFs, and I will start with an ETF representing the MDAX. For now, I will invest only a certain amount. I won't start a saving plan. I will try to buy them when the price is relatively low. That's what I mean with a little bit of activity. I plan to keep these ETFs at least for 10 years, and I'm looking for a distributing ETF. But I want to try out active strategy too, but with much less money. I will pick a stock returning usually high dividends, and I will try to buy it when the price is relatively low. I plan to keep it for a long term. Maybe someone with a very small budget, I will try out day trading as well. As the next step, let me show you how I have found my ETF to invest in. But before, I would like to mention there are so many ETFs and they have a wide range of risks. Compared to the DAX, I would consider the MDAX or risky, but there are much more riskier ETFs. A very nice tool to find ETFs is the page Just ETF. If you open www.justetf.com, the page opens in your default language. You can change languages, so I have opened it in English and in German. Here you can select ETF search. It brings you to a page where you can search over 1,000 ETFs. First, I choose my matching index, in my case MDAX. There are 6 ETFs I can choose from. Now I select my second criteria, distributing, and the number of ETFs reduces to 3. I'm interested in the font size, in the TER, the total expense ratio, and the performance during the last year. Other than the name says, the TER does not cover all costs. The TCO, total cost of ownership, covers all costs, but it isn't mandatory to publish the TCO, so usually only the TER is available. Here are two ETFs with 30% TER and one with 20% TER. Of course, a low TER is better, and this ETF has performed best during the last year. But this ETF has a very small font size, which can be a bigger risk. I check if one of those ETFs is promoted by my broker, which means I could get it for a reduced fee. Yes, one is promoted, so let's take a closer look at it. On this page, we find already more information, but the most extensive and important information I find in the fact sheet. It is available in German only. The seat of this ETF is Germany. That is very good. Swiss, Luxembourg, and so on would be as fine, but as a beginner, I don't want to start international. The ISIN is the unique identification number of the ETF, so I will be able to find it on other platforms, including the one of my broker. The replication method is important too. For this ETF, it is physical direct. That means the ETF represents exactly the MDAX without any minor adjustments to improve the performance. That is exactly what I'm looking for. Here we find the combined total assets of 88.86 million euro. The use of profit is distributing, and they will pay dividend in December. The last dividend has been €2.41. This table compares the performance of the MDAX to the performance of this ETF. The ETF has performed a tiny little bit worse than the MDAX, but for me that is still okay. Let's check what more information Just ETF provides about the dividends. During the last years, the dividend has been something between 2 and 3 euros. That looks fine to me, but of course we have to keep in mind in this Corona year the dividend is going to be much lower. If you want to buy ETFs or stocks, you have to have a deposit account. There you can order the ETFs or stock, and there they are kept. I myself, I have two deposit accounts. First, let's talk about Comdirect. Comdirect offers a free deposit for at least 3 years. For 12 months, they will charge you €3.90 for each trade. Because I have this deposit for much longer than 3 years, we will see they charge me a lot more. I have bought 10 units of this MDAX ETF. I don't even try to pronounce the name. I'm using an Excel sheet to keep track on my stocks and ETFs, and here you see the entry for this MDAX ETF. I have bought 10 units for a price of 112 euros, and they have charged me a fee of 16 euros and 3 cents. I'm a little bit confused because Just ETF has said that this ETF is a promoted ETF, so I didn't expect to pay fee, or I would at least expect them to be low. I have to figure that out, what went wrong. So if I want to sell this ETF without any loss, I have to sell it at a rate of at least 150 euros and 21 cents. But remember, when I'm going to sell them, they will probably charge me more fee. I have never compared brokers or banks, but I have to say I'm very content with Comdirect. They have a 24/7 hotline, and this hotline is really competent and helpful. Whenever I have needed them, they were really very, very good. and I don't pay any fee for my accounts. I have the deposit account, which comes with a clearing account. And additionally, I have a Tagesgeldkonto, whatever this is in English. And I have also a current account. And for none of those accounts, I pay any fee at all. The condition for the current account is each month there have to be transfers to this current account of at least, I don't remember exactly, but I think 2,500 euros. If you are looking for a bank account, like a deposit account, a current account, or so on, and you are interested in Comdirect, please use the affiliate link in the description below. It would not make any difference for you and it would earn me some money. In the next video, I'm going to talk about what kind of trades I'm doing in my other deposit account and about the particularities of this account. Please give this video a thumbs up. That would help me to improve in the YouTube algorithm. Here are the links to my other videos, and please subscribe, hit the bell. Have a nice day, and I see you soon.